Imagine approaching the port with your suitcase, looking up at the ship, while people queue up, argue over luggage, wait for their turn, and stand under the sun. Now, picture yourself going straight through, no rush, no pushing, with assisted boarding and your luggage heading directly to your cabin. Imagine not having to drag anything through endless hallways, your cabin in a convenient location, no need to ask about schedules, being greeted with personalized attention, and finding your room ready upon arrival. That moment exists and you don't need to pay for expensive suites to enjoy it. If you're 55, 60 or 65 years old, you have real advantages that most younger passengers don't. These benefits exist, they're documented, can be activated, and are available, but they're almost never openly advertised. Today, you'll see how to make the most of them. Many senior travelers think cruising is no longer for them, believing modern ships are only designed for families with kids, young passengers, parties, or late-night shows. The reality is quite the opposite. The senior market generates fortunes for the industry, which is why there are indeed specialized and quiet benefits for this demographic. Traveling knowing what you can request can turn your cruise into a premium experience without the premium price. Today on Cruise Hacker, you'll learn how to do it. 1. When your age opens doors others don't see. The first thing to understand is this. Cruise lines don't advertise this because it's not in their interest. If you visit their websites, you'll see general offers, visible campaigns, promotions open to everyone. But there's a category of customer that triggers specific benefits: the senior passenger. When you're over 55 or 60, depending on the cruise line, you can request a rate adjustment or a functional advantage not available to other travelers. In lines like MSC, this is formalized. If one of the cabin passengers is over 65, discounts are available that aren't visible for all itineraries in general search engines. When both occupants meet the same condition, the benefits increase. It doesn't appear in flashy banners. It's not on the first booking screen, but it is stored in internal offer systems, and activating it simply requires asking. This pattern isn't exclusive to MSC. Companies like Celebrity offer reduced fares on certain departures for passengers over 55. Not all. Some. Why isn't it published directly? Because the sales model works better when the customer buys without asking. If you don't mention your age or clearly state you want a senior rate, you won't get it. It's that simple. There are also specialized agencies, especially in continental Europe and the United States, that market itineraries aimed at seniors. This intermediation usually includes origin details, preferred transfers, cabins near elevators, and flexible boarding. When the senior traveler arrives informed, the system completely changes. 2. The power of requesting the right assistance. Many travelers think that boarding assistance is only for people in wheelchairs, and that's not the case. Cruise lines use an internal concept called mobility assistance, which covers various situations: tired passengers, bulky luggage, long walks to the terminal, minor mobility issues, fatigue, or imbalance while walking. That service is valid and available, but it must be requested in advance. When requested before boarding, the traveler receives real priority. It's common for a team member to accompany them to the check-in area, and in some ports, luggage is handled directly to avoid waiting. Normal boarding can take an hour or more. Assisted boarding can be reduced to just over 20 minutes in many cases. It's tangible comfort. The reason it's not openly advertised is simple. It increases operational costs. The more it's used, the more staff they need to allocate, the more logistical coordination is required. That's why, even though it's available, it doesn't appear in the big print of the campaigns. Here's a fundamental principle of the cruise world senior hacker. What isn't requested doesn't exist. 3. The right cabin changes the experience. One of the most common mistakes senior travelers make is assuming all cabins are the same. And they're not. Cruise lines allocate specific locations for people who need efficient accessibility. They're near elevators, central areas, and usually allow movement without ramps or long distances. This is gold if your plan isn't to walk half the ship several times a day. These types of cabins sell out quickly, but booking in advance makes them accessible. The well-informed senior traveler isn't looking for a spectacular terrace or a balcony on deck 17. They seek logical accessibility, a mid-level floor, central location, and immediate access to the elevator. This positioning makes everything simpler. Going to dinner doesn't mean a 10-minute walk. Returning after a show doesn't mean walking 120 meters down a hallway. If you get tired, if your companion walks slower, or if you're carrying shopping, your cruise doesn't turn into a daily marathon. When you combine a functional cabin with assisted boarding, the cruise stops being an effort and becomes an experience. 4. The ideal season for the senior traveler. The key here isn't the weather, but the crowding. Many itineraries significantly improve when booked outside peak seasons. During those weeks, there's less congestion, services run more smoothly, and the atmosphere on the ship is more relaxed. This pattern aligns with early spring, late autumn, and periods away from school holidays. Not only are there fewer people, but prices are lower, there's better cabin availability, and the staff is more flexible because they work with a moderate operational load. If you travel in summer, you compete with a crowd that demands a lot, consumes shows non-stop, and fills pools and open areas. When you travel during quiet periods, everything becomes a space to be, walk, and enjoy. 5. The hidden point. Where you'll truly save money. There comes a time when the senior traveler receives benefits greater than any public promotion. When they proactively book and then call or write directly to confirm applicable discounts. That contact forces an agent to manually review the pricing system, locate active codes, and verify them. This process, though it may seem trivial, opens real doors. It's common for there to be unpublished cumulative discounts that the average traveler never sees. When a senior rate is applied to an off-season reduced rate, the resulting price can be lower than the standard rate of an interior cabin, even in a higher category. The reason is simple. The cruise line has already partially invoiced that departure, pending slots generate operating costs, not profit, and rewarding senior shortcuts helps clear inventory without promotional noise. 6. Mealtime perks. There are subtle elements on the ship that naturally favor an experienced passenger, especially when planned before boarding. Early dinner is one of the most valuable benefits. That first slot isn't assigned by chance. It's usually given to those who book early, travel in easily accessible cabins, or simply meet certain internal criteria related to mobility timings on board. Securing that time slot allows for dining without crowds, with smoother service, and avoids long waits typical of open seating, where passengers might sit off for extended periods until a table is available. Choosing that time slot also leads to a more peaceful atmosphere in the restaurants and improves staff attention, as they're less overwhelmed and work at a more organized pace during that hour. 7. The greatest invisible benefit: personalized attention. Cabin attendants, restaurant staff, and certain departments on the ship prioritize senior passengers when they identify specific behaviors. Constant communication, clarity of requests, and courtesy. The savvy traveler who knows how to express their needs receives attentive service because the team understands that any delay impacts their well-being more. And here's the key differentiator. If you treat an attendant with courtesy and kindness from the start, their response becomes preferential. All experienced cruisers know this. Getting the staff to want to help you changes the whole dynamic. It's the kind of preferential treatment money can't buy. 8. How does a savvy senior cruiser travel without overspending? First, it all starts with choosing the right itinerary. A senior traveler has a completely different experience when they choose routes without crowded ports, reasonable layover times, and balanced sailing days. When the journey flows without rush, the ship feels more comfortable, with quiet spaces and less congestion. From there, securing a well-located cabin is crucial. Choosing a room close to the elevators, without long intermediate hallways, and with easy access to the main restaurant or solarium avoids unnecessary movements that can become exhausting if repeated daily. If possible, opting for accessible cabins, adapted bathrooms, step-free showers, and support bars offers a real advantage when fatigue sets in or mobility isn't perfect. Then comes the most strategic step: confirming senior benefits in advance. Many specific rates are not automatically applied, you have to request them. That's why, when booking, it's wise to indicate your age and explicitly ask for special rates for those over 55, 60, or 65 years old. In some cases, the discount also applies to the companion provided both share a cabin and meet the required minimum age. This detail can mean significant savings with just one call. Once your departure is booked, requesting mobility assistance, which some cruise lines call accessible boarding, makes a difference. If you're traveling with heavy luggage, get tired on long walks, or simply prefer to avoid queues, this service takes you from the terminal to your cabin with the help of ground staff. To activate it, it's recommended to arrange it at least 30 days before departure. There's usually no extra charge, but availability is not unlimited. Finally, requesting an appropriate dinner time, especially an early slot, ensures faster service, better staff attention, and less waiting in the dining room. This small decision improves not only the dining experience but also the quality of your evening leisure time. In summary, a smart senior traveler doesn't improvise. They choose the right route, ensure real accessibility, confirm economic benefits, and adapt the trip to their own pace. Because when the strategy is planned before boarding, a cruise is not only more enjoyable, it's a better experience. Traveling after 55 is not a limitation, it's an opportunity. Your age opens doors, your planning gives you priority, your understanding of the system places you where others don't even look. The perfect cruise isn't the most expensive, the newest, or the flashiest. It's the one that fits your real pace. Because in the world of cruises, it's not who can pay the most that wins, but who is the most informed. And now, tell me in the comments, did you know about these exclusive advantages? Which one will you request on your next cruise? Give a like if you found it useful and subscribe so you don't miss more tips, tricks, and secrets for your next cruise here at Cruise Hacker. See you on the next cruise!